So before we dive into it, so let us all introduce quickly ourselves before we then finally discuss something that was coming up earlier already on U-space, commercialization aspects of U-space, and when to see the first U-spaces in action. So nice to see so many familiar faces. I'm Richard Boden, the acting COO at Murzilli Consulting. So you have had the pleasure already with my colleague Lorenzo for the morning session. So now I'm here. I think one of the reasons why I'm here is because we're also involved in the U-space Berlin project, where we are supporting our partners in the consortium on the implementation of logistic operations using drones for different use cases across the city of Berlin, which is a test bed project funded by the government of the city, which is really kind of an exciting challenge to me. And I'm looking forward now to discuss kind of these challenges with the other panelists here on stage. So maybe Larissa, starting first with you kind of for the introduction.
Yes, good morning or good afternoon, everybody. So many thanks for having me today at this panel discussion. So my name is Larissa Haas. I'm the Deputy Head of the Technology and Innovation Section at the Swiss Federal Office of Civil Aviation, which is basically the Swiss CIA and the Ministry for Aviation Topics as well. And the major mandate of our section is the implementation of the U-space in Switzerland. And in addition to that, also other topics that have been prioritized by our government in the field of drones. This is why I put the Swiss drone strategy, which has been published in December last year, on the right-hand side of that slide. And I'm very happy to discuss with you right afterwards the biggest challenges we are currently facing in the U-space implementation path. So maybe just to set the scene. So from our perspective, from a FOCA perspective, implementing U-space was really a strategic decision right from the beginning, because we think this is the only way, or a major way, a key way to mitigate the air risk in a reasonable time frame. So we've heard in the previous panel that the air risk is one of the biggest challenges for operators to fly BVLOS, to scale, and we see the U-space infrastructure or the U-space framework as really the key measure to tackle that. And on the other side, so maybe you can switch here the slide. We've discussed a lot also with our team that actually is responsible for doing a SORA authorization. And according to them, and I fully trust their estimations, but they say with a U-space airspace framework in place, they would need, or their time they require to approve a BVLOS operation with the SORA framework would decrease by approximately 30 to 40%. So it's also like a resource, from a resource perspective for a CAA, I would say it's not only beneficial, a U-space framework from an operator perspective, but also from a resource perspective when you think as a regulator or an authority that need to save resources, especially in today's setting. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I'm pretty sure we will come back on the 40% in a second. Nina, maybe do you want to go next then?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here just in time. Thanks to Rainer. My name is Nina Dorfmayr. I'm leading the drone section at Austro Control, Austria's civil aviation authority, and also ANSP. And in our drone competence center, we have the task, all the authority tasks, just as at FOCA, from the European drone regulation. So we do the operator registration. We also have like the issuing of the operational authorizations, proof of competency, oversight over drone operators, safety promotion. But also we coordinate the whole topic integration, manned, unmanned aviation at Austro Control, especially with the ANSP. And so in Austria, we have taken a stepwise and quite pragmatic approach for integrating drones in our airspace. So with our colleagues from the ANSP, we have developed a UTM system to ensure the safe operation of drones in the CTRs. And while we have not implemented U-space yet in Austria due to legal requirements in our national law, so we don't have a competent authority yet for designating U-space. We said we are going to take a stepwise approach, and we are confident that our UTM might now be the basis for further development and for a stepwise approach. And on a broader perspective, our main focus is on balancing regulation growth, but also acceptance. We have encountered that societal acceptance is very important for scaling drone operations, especially BVLOS operations on a broader basis. So this is one of our main focus, of our main concerns. But also keeping it proportional. Probably not every BVLOS operation will need the full U-space stack, but still you need also not only societal acceptance, but also acceptance from the operators, because the ultimate goal should be that those systems make their life easier and also make it easier to scale their BVLOS operation. So from this perspective, I'm very happy to be here and looking forward to the discussion.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Then, Khushboo, over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Khushboo, and I'm working at Collins Aerospace as a principal research engineer. A lot of my work is focused on developing concept framework, requirements, architectures that ultimately are catering to a solution to enable innovative air mobility in a shared airspace. This contributes directly towards the product line or the portfolio we have at Collins, which is focused on delivering the next generation of air traffic management systems. In the past few years, and I'm based in Cork in Ireland in our office here. So joining to that, in the past few years in Ireland, we have been focused on demonstrating and validating these capabilities that are catering to innovative air mobility solutions and trying to understand from those implementation, what are the operational requirements, what are the system requirements. And hence, I guess I'm here at the panel to share those lessons, to share those concerns. This is my first participation at this event, so happy to be here.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And then, Matthias.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Matthias Gronstedt. I'm the managing director of Hala Sky. Hala Sky is a tech company. We're providing technologies for enabling the autonomous future operations. Next slide. So we have built two core products, which is on the left side, the integrated control center, which is not only a ground control station, it's a process management tool, which makes sure that you are operating fleets of drones safely and cyber secured in the air. It is also an open architecture which can connect other drones, not only ours. And even when it comes a little bit more smarter, you have to connect it to legacy softwares like ServiceNow or SAP and even control centers from polices. And then on the left hand, we have developed for the last 5.5 years our UTM technology, which has been used in two projects right now. One is a Blue Space project in Hamburg, which considers and researches on the U-space operations, and we are happy to join the Zurich U-space also with a tech provider for the company Aviation. So this is just to give you a quick overview how these products will work together. So you can see our drones, which we have developed ourselves, and ground robot. So what we are talking about mobile robot management, because these are cyber physical systems and all our mobile robots. So that means we are talking about flying, driving, and swimming robots. Driving robots you can consider being useful for logistics, for example, and stuff like that. And the UTM technology then helps with the integrated control center to build up the ecosystem, which will be shown on the next slide. Unfortunately, the sys is missing here. Sorry for that. So this is how the ecosystem is looked like. The HALA Sky Control Center controls different varieties of drones. Also, the UTM Control Center can be attached to other ground control stations like DJI or Q Ground Control and things like that. And on the right hand, we are connecting the authorities to the UTM Control Center in the U-space project in Hamburg. We are, for example, connecting the police control centers to the UTM control center to make sure that we identify where HEMS are flying, for example. Thank you.
Right.
Hope that was short enough.
Thank you very much, all of you. Let's dive into it. Larissa, maybe coming straight back to the 40%, knowing that there are a good amount of operators in the room who I think would appreciate or are appreciating kind of the bold statement of having a reduction of 40% in time, kind of, because I think we all know that it's still a lengthy process in all the different countries people are operating in. So I think the logical question there is, when can we expect U-space being up and ready, especially in Zurich now?
So I hope that we will be the first country in Europe that have fully established U-space airspace in Europe. And it's funny, I guess I was on stage last year in London at the Aerial Cities event edition 3, and I said exactly the same thing, I guess. So it's a little bit embarrassing, but this, I guess, shows also to the stakeholders and to the audience here that it's a really challenging task for us as regulators, but also for the USSPs, for the ANSP as well, operators and all other stakeholders also on local level that are involved in that exercise. So we are going to do the first field tests next week of that U-space airspace volume in Zurich, which means that we work together with 4 different USSPs. HHLA is one of them, and there are 3 others, 2 of them that are already certified in Europe, and another one that is currently in the certification process with FOCA. And we are going to test really the basic functionalities of U-space. So we take the 4 mandatory U-space services and test how they function, and also how whether USSPs are able to exchange data in an interoperable manner. So we do that in quite a controlled environment together with a set of UIS operators. And we do that in order to collect data to finalize our U-space airspace risk assessment. We have planned another set of tests next year, in Q2 next year, and which is then followed with the final implementation or designation of the U-space airspace in Q3 next year. So this is the goal.
Perfect. Then crossing fingers that you're here next year, and we can then speak about your learnings of the actual live operations of
yes, hopefully.
We've heard now kind of in the introduction sessions, and you mentioned as well a couple of times, challenges that come kind of with the implementation. I would first like to dive there a bit deeper into this, especially kind of maybe starting with the authority views before going to the industry side of the panel and get the learnings there and views there. Maybe Nina, from your perspective, what are the biggest challenges, maybe specifically in your case, when it comes to the implementation rollout of U-spaces?
I think from an authority perspective, it's, the regulation is here and also the technology is here, but and also all the automatization, but we still have a lot of legacy systems and also the challenge of integrating manned and unmanned aviation. And I have the feeling that at least, Austria is a smaller country. Things are moving very slow, and also people are kind of waiting on what are the first moves. And I can just say from my perspective, as we are also missing the legal basis, we don't have the competent authority for the USSP certification. I think the certification will be quite challenging, but we are really looking to an European exchange and to also see what are the lessons learned from countries that are far ahead, and that we can just see what are the challenges that they encountered, and then hopefully be quicker on the second round and also doing the implementation. And also what we encounter in general with drones, with BVLOS flights, with scaling up, a challenge from our perspective is also the societal acceptance. So that people are not quite sure on what to think about these coming technologies. And from our perspective, it really helps if you have use cases that really get some emotional impact, like medical emergencies, disaster relief, deliveries to otherwise remotely secluded areas in the mountains. So that will also be a way to show what are actually the benefits, and I think that's what will solve those issues.
All right, thank you very much. I mean, not having kind of the right authority in place is quite a challenge then, I think. Just quick follow-up question. Can you share any plans or updates on this, when to expect their kind of having an authority appointed to take the task?
I hope so. Fingers crossed. It will be at the beginning of next year, where our Aviation Act will be adapted. But like legal procedures can move,
of course,
slow. But we're hoping for the best, and then hopefully just start right. So,
all right. Thank you. I mean, Larissa, maybe quickly back to you, because you mentioned kind of the challenges. Obviously, you also touched on the timeline and kind of that we've been here kind of, or in London at Aerial Cities last year, discussing similar things. So what are the biggest challenges then for you, kind of especially leading to this delay that we now see?
So one major challenge was the coordination, so a coordination challenge. So we, as authority at the beginning, a little bit naively, probably, I don't know, expected that the different stakeholders will be able to coordinate themselves on their own. So we knew, okay, USSPs, they are very well organized in their associations. The same is true for operators, etc. But since we're talking here about a new ecosystem where probably for the first time ANSPs need to talk to USSPs, and then there are the UIS operators, they needed to have or to get the top-down coordination by us. And just writing emails and connecting people is obviously not enough. And for this reason, we started that activity end of last year, where we really took the 664, 665, and 666 regulation, looked at all the deliverables and tried to allocate those in different working packages. And now we have a very well-defined organizational structure, which is defined in or separated in 4 different working packages, where we really are able to progress in a significant manner, I would say. So in the first working package, we have the different USSPs organized, and in this setup, they were able to develop service descriptions document for all the 4 mandatory services. They have defined the test baseline against which they tested their services on the automated testing framework. For that, we also collaborated very closely with the inter-USS platform. Then we have the working package 2, where we tackled all the challenges related to the ANSP, USSP communication. Here, we're still lacking some standards in terms of protocols to exchange surveillance data from the ANSP world to the USSP world. We're currently trying to tackle this, but I would say in that working package, this is the major challenge. Mm-hmm. And then in the working package 3, we are going to operationalize everything which we have developed in working package 1 and 2. And then the working package 4 that tackles basically the connection between the UIS operator and the USSPs, which has not been established for a very long time, which also caused the significant delay that we currently have. So these are the major challenges I see from a really U-space perspective. And maybe there is also another challenge when we zoom out on a European perspective. I would say, obviously, Zurich is not enough, right? So from an operator's perspective, you need to have the legal security, but also to the basically the signal from the authority that the investments that you do will be recovered and that you will be able to scale. And obviously your marginal cost will then be minimized, right? And with just the U-space airspace in Zurich, we obviously are not there. Mm-hmm. So what we also really try to push now on a European level to give the signals to the UIS operators that they are actually able to fly in Europe, be it in a U-space airspace in Zurich, but hopefully also in other U-space airspaces in Austria or other European countries.
Perfect. Thank you very much for kind of sharing this so openly with us. Maybe moving a little bit to the industry perspective, maybe Khushboo, come to you. Yeah. How does this resonate with you when you kind of hear two authorities and the challenges they are fighting with, and maybe especially in your specific case with Collins Aerospace, being in the domain also for a couple of years on the technical side of things and the technical challenges connected to this. So Larissa, for example, mentioned the ANSP connection and exchanges. So what are your thoughts on that?
A couple. But I think I would like to go through 3 sectors of what we learned based on our deployments. And to give a bit of context, as I mentioned in the introduction, in the past few years, we have worked on running some demonstration and validation exercises. This goes back to what was mentioned in the keynote. There was a project executed here. Collins was involved in it as a technology provider. So what did we learn? The first thing was that the technology is here. Technology is not the problem. It's when you go down to operations, there are challenges associated there in terms of what are the roles, what are the procedures, and what are the data exchanges required, considering the fact that you are trying to demonstrate this technology in an environment that's relevant, that is a bit traditional, which could be, let's say, in a controlled airspace, is close to ATM. So when you look at that, you realize these are the challenges involved. And this is something that needs more work and more consolidation and more collaboration across technology providers, general aviation, the ANSPs, and so forth. Second was that automation is great. It's good. Of course, it's needed. And we learned through our validation exercises that, yes, the automation capabilities that are introduced enable more traceability and more availability of data in general. But from a social acceptance aspect, which is something you touched upon, and I remember something that was mentioned in the first panel about maybe visibility of like air pollution is not a concern. But speaking in automation, it can have a key concern of, is this safe? Is this trustworthy? Will this replace my job as an individual? And I think over there, what is needed, that automation is important and required in not only in U-space airspace, but also looking at traffic management as a whole. But what needs to be done to enable the social acceptance is to make it trustworthy. And that comes from something that's transparent and understandable to the wider community. And I forget the last challenge, but these are the 2 top that are in my head right now. Yeah.
Thank you. The third one may come back.
Yeah.
Matthias, then maybe curious to hear your views, especially considering kind of that you are involved in the project in Hamburg with Blue Space and that you are engaged also in Zurich. So having, I think, quite a good view on what's going on across Europe and with different challenges. So what are your thoughts when you hear all of this? Obviously, the technology that we just heard works, but what are your thoughts on this? And maybe to start flipping it a little bit, what's your view on how industry can support improving and overcoming these challenges, if at all?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I want to say I'm paying my deep respect to the authorities because, we are talking about it and everything seems so easy, but it's not. It's not easy from the technology point of view, what computer science or software architectures, data streams and all of this needs to be working together. Second is you have to recruit the people. I mean, we are doing something what nobody has done before in history of us. And so where are the people coming from? I know the LBA in Germany, they are doing a lot of efforts to get all the people on board to approve the flights. And the same goes for every other country I know of. And therefore, it's a huge task to actually coordinate what you said, coordinate all the stakeholders, bring the technology together. I give you one example for the ISS. I mean, few years ago, we were changing the interface 1 week after the other, and we have to adapt to that to get. So on, these are things where we all have to learn. And then when we go operational within Zurich, we also have learnings, and we all think it's safe. Is it really safe? That is, a different question. So that is why I see it's on a good way. It could be faster, but it cannot be faster because there are not enough people. So that is something I like to say.
Okay, it's an interesting kind of to discuss the technology aspects and the regulatory hurdles, but ending up kind of in the end with a people's game and the availability of people and workforce. I think that's quite an interesting angle. With an eye on the time, and before going kind of to this slide or questions that we have from the audience, maybe a quick question to all of you. So from your individual perspectives, and I know it might be a bit of a complex question, but I still would kindly ask you to reply as short as you can. What are the benefits aside from the areas that we heard already about aspects? Which other benefits, or generally speaking, benefits do you foresee kind of in the future and making this happening when we have the new space in place? Maybe just starting with you, Larissa.
So first and foremost, there's a new market that will be created, so more value that will be created. So it will enable more complex and also innovative drone operations. I think this is the key value I see in U-space, and also from an authority perspective, as I said it in an opening statement, it's also a key tool to save scarce resources on our side, but also from an operator's side.
Right. Thank you. Nina, what's your view on that?
Yeah, of course, the commercial perspective and the scalability, but that might all add also to the safety that you already mentioned. But what we also discovered is that now we have an increasing need or interest in transparency and just seeing where is somebody flying and who is flying and to which amount. So that could also be a good argument for, you have more transparency when you establish a U-space to see where are the drones, who is flying with drones. So this could also be an advantage to be, if I should now be creative and add to the safety and the scalability and the commercial aspect.
Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting angle, especially kind of thinking about the broader social acceptance of the use of drones and new technologies, right? So I think it's definitely a valid point. Khushboo, what's your view?
Yeah, I was a bit I was thinking about your question because I was wondering benefit to whom, and I can say one aspect. I don't know where you were, which stakeholder were you implying to, because there are so many stakeholders involved, and hence the benefits. I think from an operator's perspective, a U-space airspace, how is it beneficial to them? I think if you're looking at a truly shared airspace and not operating in silos, that one operator has access to this one separate area, it would imply predictable access because you could submit your flight authorizations. You would know how this would work, automating the flight authorization process. and also having a shared visibility of the airspace in terms of the surveillance of it, like who are the different actors. So that's the key benefit I see for operators. But then the question is whom also.
Yes.
Yeah.
The whom on what, I think we'll come back fairly soon in one of the slider questions. Matthias, your kind of view on the benefit.
My view goes a little bit further. I mean, U-space is for me a good start. It's a nice thing, but I think UTM technology is a real enabler of that, and that should be used countrywide. So I will give you an example. Not sure if that's still the state, but in Germany, 16 U-spaces are being mentioned. So this is around the international airports. So then you're questioning yourself, what about Wolfsburg, where the biggest car factory is? Don't they use drones? Don't they need drones? Or Schleswig-Holstein, they don't have an international airport. Drones are not flying there. So, and then using UTM technology to make sure as an operator that I know my flight intent has been shared, it's been deconflicted, and now I know I can fly safely beyond visual line of sight. And in addition, it comes from my point of view, it goes into a holistic view of a situational awareness of our country. So who is actually a friendly drone? Who is a non-friendly drone? How do you manage that? And this is, I think, which is important for our homeland security, also for our critical infrastructures. And that will be, for me, the next level, what needs to be discussed. And all of this is a really high challenge for computer science or for IT and also OT, because we are flying robots. So that's my view on it.
Thank you very much. So thank you all already for kind of sharing your views on this. So let's move a little bit to the questions from the audience. The first one kind of always, I think, an interesting topic. And I like the fact that kind of we have already the cross-reference between the panels. So that's great to see. Maybe Matthias, I think you as an industry, I know that it's a quite challenging question, but maybe you can try at least to answer it in terms of where are we today when it comes to the business case, and especially who's paying in the end and to whom.
Yeah. So first of all, I will not talk about it. So this is what I've been asked many times. How do you want to make money with it? So this is one of the things I will not share. So, but for sure, it's a benefit for the operator, and I think the operator will like to pay for it because his operation is deconflicted, it is safe, and therefore I think the operator will pay. If that will be from the start on, that's a question mark. So I think there are various kind of mixtures between you have to pay and somebody else has to pay, or the government, or some. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, so I see there's not the easy answer to all of these angles, which makes sense. Thank you. Appreciating that it's quite a challenging question that is indeed coming up frequently, kind of in all the discussions that we have today, and also during the last events. Moving then maybe to the next one. I mean, Larissa, this one is specifically addressed to you. So when you say being the first in Europe implementing U-space, does this mean the entire country? And how will this be funded?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. So I was not clear enough before. No, it's not the entire country. So we're going to start with the first U-space airspace in the city of Zurich. So it will be in controlled airspace, so Class D airspace, over urban environment. So in terms of size, it will be approximately 10 kilometers from north to south and 17 kilometers from west to east. So it's not a huge airspace volume, but I would say compared to the size of Switzerland, it's decent. So we are going to start with that, and then have also the intention to expand also to uncontrolled airspace, or transform other controlled airspaces in U-space airspaces. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, the funding.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's also a good question. So that goes to what you have actually mentioned before. So we intend to implement that infrastructure fully on user-based pricing. So back in the days when the U-space airspace regulation has been developed, we were quite active. So FOCA, to make sure that as many services that are part of the U-space regulation will be shifted to private entities, so to the open market, to make sure that there are enough incentives for innovation and low costs. And there is, however, still a part, especially in controlled airspace, which need to be taken over by the EANSP just for efficiency and safety reasons. And this part will be funded by FOCA, so basically tax money, until 2026. But then it's also fully user-based. So this is the end goal in terms of the architecture of that use-based market.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. The next one, in terms of what the primary use cases are that are driving use-based demand in the kind of cities or airspaces, I think that's quite an interesting question. Maybe Khushboo, could you give it a starting point?
No, I think I was thinking about that, and I was thinking back to, okay, what would be the primary use cases in Ireland? I think one of the things which goes a little beyond use-based airspace, speaking vertically, would actually be passenger transport. Enabling that, because I think here the regional connectivity could leverage having that new mobility access. And then obviously also logistics, reaching out to there are many islands that could use daily service of different logistical requirements, whether it's food, medical, or just transport of goods. But I think really starting from the fact of enabling people to be able to land into Shannon Airport and fly off, coming from a transatlantic flight, and just to hop onto an eVTOL and move around Ireland. Yeah.
Perfect. I would like to hear Matthias' view as well on this question kind of the use cases. What's your view on that?
Yeah, I mean, we have basically in the Hamburg Blue Space project, we have collected 3 major use cases. One is infrastructure inspection. So we have the LSPG, which is the biggest engineering department in our city, is responsible for every construction with waterways, bridges, and streets, and they need the horizontal, the vertical view from drones, and therefore they are part of it because they cannot fly really very much. Then we have the disaster recovery for floodings with the LB. So we'd like to patrol with the VTOL, the LB up and down, to see smuggling and floodings and all this kind of stuff. And the third one is transport. But we are thinking about, or what we are doing is transport in B2B business, meaning between blood samples between a hospital and the laboratory, spare parts and documents and all this kind of stuff, so that you are more or less in an industrial kind of area, not really harming the inner city things. So yeah, these are the main use cases I'm seeing.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And it's great to hear actually kind of all the variety of use cases. I think it gives a good confidence actually that it will provide a benefit in the end to all the users. That's great to hear. Maybe then the last question before we close this panel, in terms of coming back to what Matthias pointed out earlier on talents and the experiences and the shortage of people. Maybe Nina, to you, I would like to address the question. So how can this challenge around talents be considered and captured kind of in the development of U-space, and how do you deal with it?
I think it can definitely be a challenge in the U-space development, but not one that can be overcome, I think, because we have several research projects regarding U-space, regarding integration of drones into airspace. There's a lot of knowledge you can draw out of that. And also as mentioned, the collaboration between the member states. We have some first movers So there will always be some lessons learned and experiences that we can draw onto. So I think that the European collaboration would be a very important factor in this whole U-space development, because we are now somehow every authority is going from scratch. So it would be very useful if there would just be an exchange and lessons learned. And of course, I would say it's not a challenge certifying a USSP, something that we didn't do before, but like a lot of other challenges evolving around drones and new topics, we would just go and stepwise, and with a pragmatic approach, I think we could overcome those challenges.
All right. Perfect. Makes totally sense. And I mean, one reason why we have this event here also, right? To foster this exchange and to have kind of the exchange, not only between the regulators, but also with the industry to make this all happen. Thank you very much, all of you. It was great discussing the topic with you, with all the complexities and all the difficult questions around this. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.